Righty guys, welcome back to NZ Mopo Outlaw Kustoms, associated with Minnesota Outlaw Kustoms, aka Outlaw Ridge on YouTube. How's it going, Heidi? That's all folks, I'm just kidding. How's it going, Heidi? Okay. God, I couldn't get that out. Anyway, what was I going to say after that mess? So what I'm going to do today, apart from clean this stuff up that I painted yesterday and get the masking off that, I demasked some of it last night. There's a couple of little pieces that I didn't really want to touch that weren't so easy to unmask. So I'll unmask that, and then I'm going to have a massive fucking clean up here because it is just a pigsty. I've got shit everywhere, tools everywhere. Yeah, I need to stop and have a bloody clean up. If I stay here permanent long time, I'm definitely going to get myself a fucking roll cab or something, because the tool thing is a problem. I've got too many tools for drawers. I've got places to halfway sit them, but when I get myself in a mess and I've got shit spread everywhere to do different jobs, it ends up that you've got nowhere to fucking put tools because everything's splayed out and the benches are on shelves and stuff. You know, when you're working around and you're shifting stuff or taking stuff off and moving stuff around, you end up with a hell of a mess. So it would be nice to have some roll cabs where I can just walk back over and just put the fucking tools back in the drawers, but I just don't quite have that freaking luxury at the moment. My one little toolbox in my old set of drawers is just not quite enough. Actually, I was watching a video a wee while ago, Bad Hombre Garage, got an wicked channel. Haven't seen anything from him for a while, but he got a, unfortunately I don't think they're available here, but I think it was a big bastard too. I can't remember, I think it was like 52 inches long, whatever that is. This ruler here is 24. So it's 600, so it must be about 1400, long, so not quite a metre and a half, or yeah, 52. I think when I measured it up, because I think my toolbox, my red toolbox, it must be like 25 or 26. Yeah, 26. That's twice as long as my red toolbox. I think that's what I worked out at the time. Yeah, and I think that still was the size that he was looking at. I know it was about twice the size of what my red toolbox is, like lengthwise. It was a big square cabinet, it was huge up the top too, like it was, I don't know, it was like, I'd have to go back and look at the video, but it was like, I think it might have been like about 7 or 8 drawers high on the top piece, and then it had about 6 or 7 drawers on the bottom that were all nice big deep ones. It looked like a freaking hell of a toolbox. It was black, it was awesome. I was like, fucking hell, I love that, because I'd better put all the shit in it that I've got at the moment. That's my biggest problem. I just fucking don't have enough places to really organise stuff. It's a bit of a hassle working kind of like this. You know, eventually, you know, if this was just my straight out workshop, I would have a damn sight better organised, but it's awkward working around other people and the stuff they've got here too. Like I would get rid of a lot of crap. No, I wouldn't have, you know, a lot of stuff that's on those blue shelves. I just wouldn't have that, you know, because that wouldn't be here. You know, and I'd better stick my stuff on there, you know, and utilise it for parts and that sort of stuff, which we were hoping to do. We were hoping to get that over here at some point, and we probably will, but until we probably get this car out of the road and get a bit more shit cleaned up, and yeah, it's probably maybe an early winter project or something like that, or you know, an autumn project when they're not quite so busy doing other stuff. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to have a huge clean up here. I'm going to clean up all the tools, put everything away, organise some stuff, see if I can shuffle some stuff around to just get stuff out of the road so I'm not tripping over finished parts. I need to organise something for that. Just get some finished parts out of the road. Find somewhere to put them. And obviously still leaving me space to work on stuff that I've still got to finish until we can start getting some pieces on this thing, which is not far away, but you've got a little bit to do yet before I really want to put some stuff on it. But we're not far away, if you know what I mean. But probably the next major things that I really need to pay attention to is the gearbox and then the motor, and start piecing all that stuff together. Like, I don't need to get all the bits on the motor, but if I can get the motor in there and the gearbox in there shortly, then I can piece together all the last little bits and pieces and put it together and see if we can get it to run. Because it should run, it's been rebuilt, but we'll need to address the distributor properly. I actually want to convert that to an electronic system and see if we can modernise it a little bit and to get it, like, obviously a way better spark, and more reliable spark in points. And it'll probably be converted to 12 volt, I guess. We'll work on that. Yeah, and then we just need to go through the gearbox and replace the bearings, and then we need to assemble, I guess, that diff head out of the three. So I also need to go through and clean that up and get that in, and then we need to get a drive shaft made, because we're going to put, this here has got fabric couplings, both ends, which isn't really ideal. We're going to manufacture something to put a normal, regular, universal drive shaft in it, because it will just be a damn sight easier, and see if we can get something that's a common universal and all those sorts of things, just to make it a damn sight easier to work with, you know. Get down the track and it'll end up less vibrations and all those sorts of things. So yeah, that's what we're at, right? Yeah, I need to have a huge clean up because it's just shit crap everywhere. And then I'll have a bit of an organise, so, of parts and whatever. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. And try and do that most of that this morning, because it will take most of the fucking morning. So I'll get to it. I'll stop waffling. Righty, we might be onto something with these bearings. There's been quite a few people out there looking through Instagram and whatever, and through Facebook. But there's a guy, Shopcat Industries, he's got a YouTube channel, not very big, but he happened to have a book that was released in 1931, and I think, I'm not sure exactly what all's in this book, but it's got all different makes, from Studebakers to C.A.Rs to whatever was built through the ages, obviously, and it's got all the bearings in it, and it's got cross references. Well, it's got part numbers from different brands, I think, and it's got some cross references. So we've got some Timken numbers. So we might be onto something, because I did some research yesterday on these guys to try and see if I could find out any information. So these guys run from 1913, I think, to 1926. And then they must have, I don't know whether they closed down or they were renamed. Similar name, but they were renamed. So probably the numbering's probably not around anymore, but Timken's been around so freaking long that hopefully the Timken numbers that we've got a cross-reference for. He sent me some pictures of some pages, and he's done fortunately, he said he was in some little town one day, must have been flicking through some old antique shop, and there's this book, happened to buy it, and he said it a couple of times. It's been so freaking helpful. But yeah, right down the bottom of the page it had like all the 1925 Studebakers, and across the page it had different part numbers for different things, like different bearings. Like I think over the bottom of the page was all the wheel bearings, but I think it had like different gearbox and lots of stuff, so I think it's going to come in handy again. So yeah, we've got some cross references for some wheel bearings. So these are probably the original wheel bearings, believe it or not. And probably if push comes to shove, you could probably use them, but I just hate to see, probably fine, you know, if you give them a really good clean up and a bit of a polish up and whatever, you could probably use them, you know, just ticking around, just testing. But I guarantee the first time you went on a decent trip in the poor old thing and done a bit of a tour or something like that, I guarantee it would shit a wheel bearing, and then you're stuck on the side of the road trying to look for something. So we've got some Timken part numbers, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we can find something. At least now we've got a reference, and we've got some different reference numbers to some different brands. So if we struggle with Timken, we might be able to cross-reference that with something else at the time until we come up with something that's in a modern equivalent. So yeah, that's cool. Absolutely, really appreciated the help. I know that Martin from Slow Shopping Custom, he was looking, and there was a few others that were mentioning different stuff as well. I'll have to go back through and look at my messages and bits and pieces on Facebook and stuff, but there was guys out there fricking helping all over the place. You know, they were coming up with different things and different places to look, different websites to try and go and cross-reference stuff. But yeah, that book, perfect thing. You know, like, I knew it had to be something out there, like an old, and that's the thing, like a lot of those old service manuals and garage manuals and stuff like that, because I've seen Dad when he had the workshop in town, when we used to do old car stuff and whatever, he had lots of old books that you could go back through and you could cross-reference stuff, and it had like all different makes and models, and it was just so freaking handy if you're trying to work something out, you know. At the time, you know, like I'm talking 10, 15 or 20 to 30, 40 years ago, you know, when I was just a little kid and you know, and a young adult. But yeah, like a lot of those books are just so handy. You know, some of those old books you can come across, you know, that you get like just multiple models, but it'll give you like cross references for different part numbers for different makes or different brands of parts, you know, back then. So absolutely priceless nowadays, you know, some of those old things. So I've actually got a picture of the book, so I'll throw it up when I do some editing, and absolutely perfect. So hopefully we get a win. If not, we'll cross-reference some numbers. We might better get a cross-reference to another different brand, you know. But Timken have been around so fucking long, and they're still going. So hopefully those numbers are still in the system. And even if those part numbers are obsolete, there might be something that it cross-references to a newer part number, if you know what I mean. So I'm sure we can find something now. It makes a hell of a difference when you've got a part number to chase. But just because these things are so old, you know, from 1913 to 1926, under this brand name, yeah, like they still used that brand name, but the company that was, I think was Bock. I think, well, yeah, because it's basically rock but with a B. Bock, I think it was just bearing, or the Bock Bearing Company, and then it was the Bock Roller and Bearing Manufacturing Company or something like that. They changed the name in 26, and then they run through to some other time. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure when they run till 50s or 60s or something like that, and then they probably got swallowed up by somebody else, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but absolutely perfect. So we might be on a win. Righty, so we're having a bit of a clean up. Probably doesn't kind of look like it, but there's actually a lot of shit getting off that bench. Tools and stuff put away. You know, I still got a bit of stuff to put away, but we've been having I started having a blow down and a sweep up, trying to get rid of the crap off the floor, sanding dust, grinding dust, fucking whatever. Like, I've cleaned a lot of crap off these benches. Still a lot of stuff to be sorted, but you know, again, most of the tools and that have been put away. So it's been a big, well, trying to get rid of all the shit off the floor, obviously. and see the pile crack down there, and it's the same on the other side. Just trying to be working my way down, and then have another blow down, you know, with all the dust and shit that's been floating around. Trying to get rid of all the crap underneath the benches and stuff like that. So when I come back from lunch, after I've been and taken these magical part numbers to the guys we get our stuff off, see if we can get something. Also, in that same book, I had the diff bearing numbers and the gearbox bearing numbers, but when I get those stuff apart, because then we can just double check to make sure if what the part numbers are that we've got work out to be, you know, like we can get them, and then we can double check the sizes of what we've got to what they're meant to be, and we can just double check all that shit just to make sure, like there's no point, like as much as we'd love to order them, I need to strip that stuff down, double check it. I guarantee this diff head here, which is, I guarantee that one there is the same as the other ones, but I will take the bearings out of that just in case something's different. Like we don't know what year that's out of, but it's probably the right thing, if you know what I mean. But I will pull that down, take the bearings for that, and we will double check to make sure we're getting the right thing. Same with the gearbox stuff, when I pull that out, you know, we can double check all that too, make sure they're the right bearings. But I've got part numbers, so it's absolutely freaking awesome. Again, Timken and SKF or whatever it is, I've got part numbers for both for those and those, I think. Well, it mightn't be all of them, but you know what I mean. I've got bearing numbers for either, for most of it. So it's absolutely freaking awesome. So we should have a win now. Anyway, I'm going to pull the door, pause down, go have some lunch. And then after lunch, I'll shoot down to the place because it's near home. See how we get on with the numbers, and we'll go from there. And I'll let you know after that how we get on, and at least know whether we can get listings or whether we can get a cross-reference to something else we can get hold of, if you know what I mean. Like a Timken and SKF and all that sort of stuff, you know, pretty common here, and a lot of other different brands. So surely, if we can't get one, we might better get a cross-reference to something else as well. So at least we've got, you know, a well-known brand part number, and hopefully they're still current, if you know what I mean. So we'll find out. We will let you know, because I'm pretty sure there's a couple other people that I know that might want those part numbers, so I will list them up on a couple of Facebook pages for Studebaker stuff, because I know that Dave in Australia with those three, he said he had problems trying to find front wheel bearings for his as well at the time. So maybe some part numbers might come in handy, you know, when he's got three of them. But anyway, and plus, you know, we've still got to muck around with that old thing at some point, or the owner will be, depending if I'm still here or not. So yeah, those part numbers will probably come in handy again. But anyway, I'm going to get out of here, and we'll let you know when I come back. Righty guys, so this is just a short little video, and it's a wee bit of a reply to a video that Arco just dropped up at Minnesota Outlaw Kustoms Outlaw Ridge on YouTube. Video put up a couple of hours ago. So he was saying about lubricating these. Now, I didn't actually realise there was one on this either, but with using like rattle guns and all that sort of stuff, doing truck stuff and all that sort of shit for years, and even when I was working for Dad years ago, when we used to use like air tools a bit, Dad had, and I want to see if I can find one, and I used to have one in my truck when I was doing truck stuff all the time. But there's a little handheld grease gun that you can get, that you can screw onto a tube of grease, like a squeezy tube, if you know what I mean, like a tube of toothpaste. And it's basically a little hand pump that you can basically grab it, and it's got like a little plunger on the back of it, and with a proper needle on it, and it's designed for this sort of stuff. Now I am going to get one because Arco completely reminded me of it as soon as he was talking about it, because he had a full-size grease gun clamped in the vise with the flexible nozzle, and he was holding his thing up there like that and trying to pump it, which is okay. That's all good if that's all you got, but there is the tool to do the job. Yeah. Or what I've done, I've actually done a couple of screenshots of some. I tried to Google it, what it was called, yeah, it's a squeezy. Hold on, I'll pause for a minute and I'll come back. Yeah, so it's basically it says a squeezy tube grease gun for lithium type grease, for lubricating small little bearings and stuff like this, and air tools and sort of like push bikes and stuff, like anything that's got like a little funny bearings in it, like this sort of thing, instead of using a big massive grease gun that you would use on trucks and tractors and old cars and stuff like that. It's a little handheld thing. You know, you might buy a tube freaking every 10 years sort of type thing. You know, just every time you pick up your air tool, or, you know, so once or twice a month, or, you know, freaking maybe every fortnight or something like that, come up and be done with it, and then carry on. You know, obviously put your couple of drops of oil down the bum, and get this little tube. I used to use it freaking all the time. You know, well, not all the time, but every week or two I'd just come along, you know, and all my air tools and rattle guns and all that sort of stuff. When I was doing truck tyres and tractor tyres and earth moving gear and all that sort of stuff, I always used to have one. And Dad used to have one when I was a kid, when he had the mechanical parts workshop. He always had one, and we used to use it, you know, on all those sorts of tools. But just awesome bloody thing. You don't have to have a big grease gun. You can have it sitting there with all your air tools and just anything that's got that nip on it. So I don't think the straight line ones have got it. I don't think so, but I'm not. Yeah, see. So I've had this one here. He was saying that he's had his air tool, like his right angle die grinder, shit, like years, like 20, 30 years. I've had this one about 4, I guess, because that's the first one I bought, and I'm going to get another bastard. I want more of these. These are so freaking handy. So I want one for a 2-inch and a 3-inch. So I haven't had any 3-inch roll-locks, but I'm going to get another one. But yeah, these haven't got them. Well, not that I know of. But it's not to say there's different brands out there that don't have a little greaser on there, like grease nipple. But these are just lube. But yeah, anything that's got like that right angle or whatever fitting on it, so it's got the main shaft and then it goes out that way, which like a lot of them do. Yeah, they've got a little grease nipple on there, or on the back of the head, or something like that. Big old silver rattle guns, like they used to have a little greaser in the back. 2 or 3 shots of that and away you go again. So yeah, I'll post, when I edit this, I'll post it up and put a couple of pictures of what they look like. And yeah, go buy yourself one if you're using air tools and you've discovered you've got that little greaser on the side of them. Makes bastards last for years. Yeah, I really need to do that with this. He just totally reminded me. It's like one of those things you forget about. Didn't realise it actually had one. You know, just typical air tools, you put a bit of lube down it. But now that he said that, yeah, all my big rattle guns and stuff I used to have when I was, that was like company stuff, but when I had my truck, you know, I used to go to service trucks and all that sort of stuff, yeah, they all had it, well, most of them, yeah, and just, you know, once or twice or 3 times every 3 weeks sort of type thing, and way you keep going again, so keep them lubed up and they run forever. But if you don't lube them, it's amazing. They'll last 6 months and then they'll fucking tear themselves to pieces. So yeah, like I've had that die grinder there, be 20 years. So, and it was just a cheap piece of crap. You know, as long as you get them lubed, you know, really should be doing it probably every day or every couple of 3 days, 2 or 3 drops or a couple of drops. You know, or if you're doing it once a day, just a drop of oil, you know, put it down there, work its back and forth, especially if it's got a different direction. Nozzle on it, work both ways. You you know, is like big air tools and stuff like that. But yeah, they work perfectly. Alrighty guys, we'll catch you later on, and I'll throw this together and get it up at some point. Righty, so in my clean up, I've managed to clean this area up since I can kind of get in here. I pushed that saw out of the road in the meantime. I know I'm going to have to turn it around and frickin' shuffle it around when I do some other stuff shortly, but at least then I might better drag crap over there. But what I want to do is I want a space so I can fit some of these bits and pieces over here. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it yet. Actually, what I might do is I might shift that and put it over in here, lay all the parts down on it, because I wouldn't mind moving that carpet from there over into here somewhere, and maybe have to shuffle around this stuff. So I've got a better spot to put my parts that are painted until I put them down, and then I can use that whole carpet to lay stuff down on. That was handy at the time, but it's not ideal. And I've got lots of little pieces here that I really want to sit down on it, or sit in boxes and then sit down on it. So it's all in one place and it's out of the road. Like I can still come around the end and pick up bits and pieces that need to be done. I'm going to leave myself a little path down here, but I'm just trying to clean up this area while I've been having a sweep up. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing at the moment. Yeah, so basically, because I just, like this stuff here, the wheel stuff's going to go away, but there's all this sort of stuff that's going to be staying here. And then obviously those pieces here would be nice to get over there and out of the road, and then I'm, not that anybody's walking into them, but at least if they're over here, that gives me more clear space over there, and there's more out of the road, if you know what I mean. And I can just lay the bits and pieces down in here, and I can bring them through here when I want to put them on. So eventually when we do have a bit more of a clean up, if he ever extends and I find he should stay here, which is maybe, we'll see what happens, because I'm really trying to push towards it to America, and there's a couple of people who really want me to go over there. But yeah, so if I can get that stuff over here in the meantime and out of the road, and yeah, give me a wee bit more space to put some stuff down here, because I'm not worrying about having to walk past it. Would be really handy. Yeah, I was going to lay stuff down in there, but I think I'll move that over here, set the stuff down there, move the carpet, and then put it down once I've had a wee bit more of a clean up. Maybe just a wee bit more of a shuffle around with some of this stuff until we get some blue shelves over, and then we can stack it properly. A work in progress. Right, that's the bulk of that stuff moved. Sort out of the road, if you know what I mean. And there's obviously the headlights aren't finished, but they're semi-finished until I get the other bits and pieces back. And it just keeps them out of the road until we obviously finish stuff. I've got some other little bits and pieces I can stick in there too, which I will do once I reassemble some stuff. But yeah, that's that. Fine. That should be a bit better place to put the painted stuff. bruh. Behind the bench there, had a bit of a clean up around the place. Still haven't finished cleaning up, so got to bugger off. But yeah, bit of a straighten up, tidy up, move some crap out of the road. Wheel shit over there, ready to go away. So yeah, getting organised. Right, morning guys. So welcome back to NZ Mopo Outlaw Customs again. So, not 100% sure whether this is going to be a new video or not, but so I had that big clean up yesterday. I've still got a bit of sweeping to do. I can do a final sweep up and a final get rid of some crap and just have a little bit more of an organiser in the bench. I've got most crap away, but I'll just go, just pick up the odds and ends and bits and pieces, just have with just some stuff floating around. And I'm not probably going to touch too much here, but I just have a bit of a straighten up, put the sandpaper away and stuff like that. But yeah, then I need to decide what I'm doing next. I'm just in the midst of fixing the old stable broom for at home, because just at the moment I just fucking don't have the spare cash to go buy a new one. Hopefully, soon. But I'll just make that one last a wee bit longer. But yeah, put that away since I didn't put that away yesterday. So basically, I have to sit down and have a wee work out what I'm going to attack next on this thing. But yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. So yeah, I'll just have a clean up, obviously finish cleaning up that shit off the floor and bits like that, and just have another quick sweep. The dust has sort of settled from yesterday, and yeah, and then I'll go from there, I guess, and get a few, just work out what I'm going to attack next. Obviously that wheel stuff's got to go away, but yeah, I've got plenty of other stuff here I need to just work out what I'm going to do next. Try to decide whether I'm going to actually attack the motor and gearbox, or what do I do, because I'm waiting on obviously the wheel bearings and the tie rod ends and a few bits and pieces like that. I need to, also the brackets and bolts for the headlights, so I can't reassemble and test them, I guess. Like I'm sort of waiting on a few bits and pieces like that sort of stuff. So it's kind of where I'm at. So I'll work out what I'm going to attack next once I have my final little clean up and sweep up. So it'll probably be about an hour, I guess, before I really work out what I'm going to do next. But that's about where I'm at the moment. So yeah. Right, found the next job to do. Oh, done it. Reconstruct my broom. Stable broom for home, it split in half and the handle fell out of it. So a bit of construction adhesive and 3 screws will last a little bit longer. Oh, hopefully this works. If you can see me over here, that cut me head off or anything stupid. Yeah, that's alright. So, I did free a lot of this stuff up on this gearbox here a while ago, like 6 months ago probably, when I first started working on this thing, sort of just going through bits and pieces. So I have had this partly apart, like this is all seized and frozen and all that sort of stuff. So I have sort of been through it, but I haven't stripped it completely down to change bearings or anything. So what we might do is pull this apart. I'll use this bench to lay it out on, and at least then we can clean this up. It's aluminium, so I don't know whether to paint this bloody thing or not, what we're going to do with it. I guess it would have been aluminium, I don't know whether it would have been painted or not. But this will have to be painted, that'll have to be painted, like all this stuff will have to be painted. The handbrake will have to be painted. So yeah, this is the coupling for the drive shaft. So it's like 2 or 3 of those on each one. So we're going to get away from that. If you see here, we're going to try and get away from that and bolt something on there and put a universal on it somehow. We're going to get something manufactured up, and then we can put make a regular drive shaft up. I'm not quite sure how we're going to do that yet, but we'll talk to somebody and get it done. So, but I went through because some of this here was off it and all that sort of bits and pieces. So I've worked out how all this works and cleaned it up. You may have to get this hand brake band relined, but it doesn't look like it's in bad nick. It might be alright. We might be able to just clean up and paint it and use it. So we'll see. I freed a lot of all this mechanism up, like this was all seized. So that's a lot of stuff I sort of did ages ago. I just went through things and unseized things and got stuff moving, and so at least when we went to finish stuff off, I wasn't fighting with a lot of that sort of stuff, if you know what I mean. Like this is a key lockout for the gearbox. So this is like your, I guess it's like your steering column lock, but it's a lock so you can't actually, change gears. So we need to figure that out at some point too. I'm not sure if that's locked or not. Can't remember. It's locked. All this moving, but it's been a wee while. So yeah, we went through and lubed all this up and got it all working and all that sort of stuff ages ago. So now we'll pull it apart and we will prep everything, paint everything, get the bearings out of it, and go from there, I guess, So this is something else we need bearings in it for. So we'll strip it down and pull it apart, I guess. I'll grab a couple of spanners and we'll pull it apart. Righty, what did I get to? About an hour later, had the wheel guy here and the owner here looking at the wheels and trying to work out. I guess I'll just put a video up on Instagram looking for the right wheel bolts. We can find these, they're not, they're just like a mild steel, not a real high quality bolt. They're the right thread, about the right length, but they're not like these, good high quality bolts. These are 100 years old, so they've been fairly stretched and tortured over the years. So we want to replace them. So we're having problems again, trying to find something that's the right thing. So we're just working on that as well. So yeah, I started getting some of the stuff apart and then got interrupted. But so I'll carry on, see if I can get this bit off the end of the box. I might have to go get a puller. Let me see the one here. Well, see if I can finish getting this gearbox apart. I've got a big 18-inch crescent here if I need it to get those nuts off. Dad said there possibly could be a retained circuit here somewhere, but because I just went around to Dad's, but I don't know if there is. I think that might be just, this might be just resting on the back of that shaft, and the other one. So, I don't know, we'll find out, I guess, when we dig a little bit deeper. I'm going to try and see if I can get the other shaft at the bottom for the see if it'll let this one drop down. We can maybe pull the bearings out. I'm not 100% sure. Dad thought maybe this shaft here might have come loose and just dragged it out, you know what I mean, and let the gears come loose. It's not holding any tension on anything. Righty guys, so I'm just trying to zoom that out a little bit. Right, so I was getting really frustrated with this thing. I couldn't quite work out how it come apart. Lo and behold, but anyway, because it's on the back of this box here. Hopefully you can see that. It's got like, it's in like a pressed steel housing, and I thought because it had this, it might have a thread on it or something like that, and I had to turn it out to get this bearing out. Anyway, I was getting grumpy with it because I was like, couldn't get the front one out either, and I was like, "Urgh!" and gave the back of it a thump with the hand, and the front one just fell out. So that's quite handy. So at least I worked that out. So yeah, it's in a pressed steel housing. It's just held in with the front cover with this. So that just stops, obviously, the bearing from falling out. So we have to undo this nut to get it all apart, but that's all right. But so there is a bush in there. So if that is a wee bit worn compared with the shaft, we might better get somebody to make up a new bush and we'll slide in there if it needs it, if you know what I mean. So that's cool. So now I just got to. So, I think to get this out, I'm probably going to, do I have to slide the gears off here or can I just get it out? I'm not sure. I'm not that sure. Really quite short. One of these mysteries of the universe. Because I can't go backwards to get those gears off, can I? I really want the sound of this so I can get that bearing out. Slide that right off, like that, that back. No, because it comes up against that shoulder and that, doesn't it? So you can't do that. Kind of there anyway. It's fun working all this old shit out sometimes. Fun or frustrating, one or two. A little bit frustrating, but we'll get there. We'll work it out. I may have to try and pop this back retainer out like the front one, then we can get enough clearance, if you know what I mean, right? Because then all of a sudden we've got a hole this big that we can shuffle shit around, and then we probably just better slide the shaft out the back and lift the gears out, if you know what I mean. And then we can make sure everything on the bottom's right, and work all that shit out. Yeah, I actually thought this shaft might come out of here, but at the moment it doesn't really want to, but I think that's probably what needs to happen. I need to probably get this out of between the bottom gears, and it's not turning that, is it? No, so that should be able to come out, and then those gears should drop down, and I should be able to slide this stuff around a bit easier, and then obviously we can get all this crap out of here, and obviously check everything all out, and make sure, you know, there's no other worn bushings or anything like that, because I've just recently found out that this car is possibly going to, I think it's going to attempt to do the Peking to Paris vintage, like run tour or whatever they do. I know the cars are meant to be fairly stock. I don't know how stock they're meant to be, but he's planning on doing this thing. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's, well, it should be up to that, but you know what I mean. Like, it's an old vehicle. Like, unless you got a lot of spares, like probably like a gearbox and a drive shaft and probably axles, and well, we have got axles here, but they're not terribly good in the threads, but you could probably repair them. You know, lots of things like that. It's a freaking big ask on an old vehicle. You know, that if I'd known that, not that you would go any deeper into it, but you know, you would probably make sure things were, well, you'd go a little bit deeper. You know, you'd really make sure that things were like really super strong, and just things like that. You'd make sure that okay, yeah, is that going to survive? You know, the fucking come from Peking to Paris is a fucking long way, especially in something like that that's almost 100 years old. You know, I bet you a lot of those guys, they probably remake a lot of stuff. That's probably new parts in old cars. You know, they probably make axles, and they probably make a lot of parts. You know, a car that's probably worth, I don't know, depending on what it is, but you know what I mean. Like if it's a Rolls Royce, you know, if it cost, say $500,000 to rebuild, they probably spent $1 million on it, because they would have made, instead of just reconditioning a lot of parts, they probably would have made a lot of parts new and in modern materials, but put it in the old casings, if you know what I mean. I don't know. I just imagine it, because I don't really know it, but I've heard about it and watched the old clip, you know, and you think, shit, I don't know how many miles it is. It's huge. It's crazy. Like, it's, you know, dirt roads and all sorts of crazy crap across, you know, across freaking that part of the world, across through Europe, you know, Asia and all that sort of shit. So it's no small task. So I think that's what he's planning on doing with it. So yeah. Also, just found out a very interesting thing about one of the guys we follow, and he's pretty sure Martin's in Sweden, I think. Martin from Slow Shop and Custom. He's a badass metalhead. He used to play bass guitar and sing music. I'll have to double check what the name of the band was, but I've got a link to a song that Arco just sent me, and he was just telling me about it. That's pretty fucking cool. Righty, so yeah, I reckon I'm going to have to try and make a tube socket of some description, like a 2-inch tube socket. I'm not quite sure how, where and when I'm going to make that, and what I'm going to make it out of. I'll have to suss that out, because because I need to get that nut undone so I can get that bearing out of this housing. I guess I'm probably going to have to, I don't know, once probably the nut comes out, it probably might fall out, and then we just see whether that bearing will come out or not. I'm not sure, but we have to get that nut off anyway. And I think we're going to have the same issue. We're going to try and get this out of here so I can get the gears out. So I might bring Dad in tomorrow, but I'm going to have a suss out and see if I can make a socket of some description. And if I've got a few bits of tube here, I'm going to have a quick measure to see what diameter this is, because I've got a bit of that exhaust tubing that would, I think, might slide over that, and then I can make a tube from there, if you know what I mean, and just like drill a hole through it. So I'm going to put a bit of bar or screwdriver or something through it so we can get that undone. I could weld a square in the end of it, so you know you could put a 1/2 inch drive in there to torque that up or whatever, if, you know, to the correct setting. That isn't a wood vise tube, by the way, just in case you're wondering, with the gear on the bottom of it. I'm brutal, but I'm not that brutal. So yeah, I was thinking maybe, I don't know if this tube's, I don't know if it's big enough inside diameter. Otherwise I've got, what else have I got here? I've got this big fucking piece of galv, which is not ideal. But yeah, we'll need to make something to get down over that shaft, because I've tried with that, but because it's a wee bit because it's recessed into this housing, it's awkward. It's either that or I'll try and push it out, the shaft out, and the bearing all out at once, and then take it off. I may have to do that, I don't know. Put it in the press, suppose you could put it in the press and just give it a wee push and just see if it'll move. I might do that. Might spray a bit of lube in around there. Just give it a wee push with the press and just see if it'll move. I just don't want to damage this bloody thing, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think that would probably come out with that, the gear on the back. I think the hole's big enough to just slide the whole thing out, and then I might be able to take that nut off, which will be easier. I might try that first. Thinking on the run. Right, so that did push out. It pushed out quite easily, which was good. And then once I got the nut undone, it just came apart, so that's cool. That was easy. Well, I wouldn't say it was easy, but you know, it was fairly simple. It was just a matter of working out how a frickin' thing comes apart. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a wee push. So that shaft, these pieces sit against the back of the bearing. There's actually meant to be some little spaces in there which go between the gears and that, so the gear can't come back. But what I'm going to do, because the gears will slide off that shaft, I'm just going to push on that shaft a little bit, just to put some pressure on it and see if the housing or the bearing will move in the back, because it's in the same sort of thing. It's in its own little housing, and we'll see if that will, one or the other will move, and at least then we should be able to get it out. I think it should push the bearing out, or it'll take both, if you know what I mean. I don't know, or one or the other. So yeah, we'll see. Give it a wee push. I'm not going to go hard, but if it starts moving, I'll just keep going, if you know what I mean. Because it is aluminium, so I don't want to smash the casing, because it's the thing with lots of stuff like this. You know, modern things, not that you're trying to break it either, you know what I mean, but if something goes wrong, you know, you can, like, say, I don't know, say you get like a mid-2000s Toyota, or even a 90s Toyota. If something dies, you know, you can hunt around and find a gearbox. You know, you can get the front bearing retainer holder, you know, out of it, or something like that, you know. Or you can get a piece out of the back of the gearbox. You know, you can find somewhere that one that's blown up, that's torn some gears off or something like that, and you can get the piece you want. But being this is the only aluminium gearbox we've got, and it's the one that goes behind that engine, you know, like, we've got to be careful. So you give it a gentle push, see if something's going to move. If it doesn't move, well, you just have another wee look, and you don't go forcing things in this sort of area. You know, you just got to be gentle and work at it. hoping something was going to move. Sweet. And then it just falls out. Ain't like that. Right, oh, that's cool. I didn't think I was going to get it apart today, but we persevered and we got there. Righty, well, we'll move this out of the road and we'll bring it back around to the bench. Right, well that's that all apart, so that's cool. At least now I can get these two bearings sorted. That's actually got an oil hole, which is quite interesting. So that's cool. So at least we can get these ordered. I have got modern part numbers. We'll have to just double check that it is the right thing and the measurements do correspond. But hopefully these are damn sight easier to get hold of than the wheel bearings and axle bearings. So that's cool. We've got that apart. I've got all the gears out of it. All the bronze, all the bushes in this look like they're all in good shape. It just needs a bloody good clean. And like there's a little bit of, what do you want to call it? A little bit of surface rust on here. So what I'm going to do, well, what I think I might do, I'll talk to Dad first, because I've got that walnut there, or something like that, or we might even have to, I don't know, maybe glass bead them or something like that, and just get them, here's a bit worn, a bit more worn than I thought it might have been. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know, we might, I don't know if these gears are going to, actually, like, it might be alright, maybe not be. I'll talk to Dad, we'll have to get him to have a look. But it's like the bushes and everything look good, they look, actually now that I've got them out and I can have a decent look at the bottom gears, they look quite worn, especially there, like here, and here they're really rounded off, especially compared with the other two. So, yeah, maybe. But, you know, we'll have a good assess, and they may be like that just to accept the, oh, maybe, yeah, to, would they be like that to straight cut gears? No, they wouldn't be, would they? No. They're normally straight cut, the straight cut of the straight cut, aren't they? Yeah, it'd be interesting. I would get Dad to have a look to see what he thinks, see whether they're going to be alright. There is quite an edge on that, it's worn. Might be right though. As long as it doesn't jump out of gear, that's probably the main thing. You know, and it doesn't want to try and jump out of gear all the time. But, yeah, we'll have to yeah, do a little bit more assessment, but at least we'll get that part, we can get bearings ordered, and then we can have a look. Well, we may better use gear sets out of maybe those out of gearboxes or something. That's all that we have to get something made. Oh, sorry guys, I was looking at thought it was in the picture there. Yeah, if I'd hate to get something made, but you know that's something you could do if you really wanted to. But freaking, you know, there'd be so much freaking money in it, and there may be something else that, you know, there may be other ones around if it does come to be a bit poo. But yeah, or maybe they're getting built up, reprofiled, don't know. We'll see. We'll get Dad to have a look. See whether they reckon they'll be okay. Because they are quite hardly worn there. I don't think they were that bad, but now they've got them out of the box, they have a decent look. Yeah. can see they're quite well worn on the edges, but they're not really 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 ground away or anything like that, like in the middle. So once they actually get in gear, they might be alright. They might be alright. Anyway, we'll soon find out. We'll soon find out. At least it's part now. I can give it everything a clean up and go from there. Let Dad have a look. And then we'll go from there, I guess. Right, I just gave the gears a quick clean and threw them in a plastic tub so I can take them under Dad's and the bearings. And just before I go, I've just done this as well. So I took the tray out of this and threw the cold casing in there, and I've just given it a good bit of a scrub round. I'll just let it sit in there overnight, and I'll just turn it around in the morning and just see what it comes up like, you know, see whether it cleans up some of the outer casing and whatever, and just give it a good soak and scrub, I guess, to try and see whether the casing comes up any better. You know, I don't know, it depends on what he wants to do with it, I guess. We can either get it bead blasted or whatever if you really want to, or we can just give it a clean up and paint it, or whether we just leave it the way it is, just clean it and just paint all the metal pieces, you know, all the cast pieces, and put it back together, if you know what I mean. I don't know, it just depends on what he wants to do, I guess. But yeah, I'll just leave it sitting in there, let it soak, see what it comes up like, see if it maybe cleans the outer casing up a bit better. We'll just turn it around over next. We'll see what it does in the morning and then turn it around or turn it over or whatever. And just give it a bit more of a clean up. Just let it soak. Like, I've given it a pretty good wash on the inside and whatever, but yeah, we'll just let it sit in the simple green and just see what happens, I guess. You know, I don't think 10 hours in there will hurt, but it'll give it a fairly good clean up and see what the surfaces come up like. But now I'll go.